We are recording. Hello, thanks so much for popping in with us tonight. I'm so happy to see so many new and familiar names in our participant box here, so thanks so much for spending your evening with us. My name is Lauren, and I am an Alumni Engagement Officer in the Office of Alumni Engagement and Giving at Point Park. I am also an 2011 graduate of the university and have been in my current role for, it's just coming up actually on my 3rd anniversary this week. So in my position as an engagement officer, my focus areas include the Roland School of Business, managing the university scholarship program, and most importantly for this conversation, the Conservatory of Performing Arts. On behalf of myself and the entire alumni engagement team, I want to extend our sincere appreciation of your support and dedication to the Conservatory of Performing Arts and the Pittsburgh Playhouse, especially during this time. I'm really excited to have you all with us tonight, and even more excited to introduce Stephen Breeze and Drew Mardarella. Last July, we were thrilled to welcome both Stephen and Drew to the Point Park family. I can specifically remember meeting Stephen, I think it was like your first or second day, and we were having an open house at the Playhouse, and it seems like that was just a couple of weeks ago, so time has certainly flown by, but I am just beyond excited to have both of you with us here tonight and just at Point Park in general. So over the last year, their fresh energy, commitment, and vision to the university's mission for our conservatory and the award-winning Pittsburgh Playhouse has set the agenda for years to come while providing an exceptional student academic experience. In his role as artistic director, Stephen Breeze directs the programming for the Pittsburgh Playhouse and its state-of-the-art cinema and animation labs and the George Roland White Performance Center. As Dean of the university's conservatory, he works to establish an overall artistic vision for the Playhouse, as well as ensuring the highest quality undergraduate and graduate education in the theater, dance, and cinema. Prior to joining Point Park, Stephen served as Dean of the College of the Arts, Communications, and Design at Long Island University. As an accomplished theater artist, he has enjoyed a national and international acting, directing, playwriting career that has spanned more than 35 years. He has acted and or directed at some of the nation's finest theaters, including the Tony Award-winning South Coast Repertory Theater, Dallas Theater Center, the Cleveland Playhouse, American Heartland Theater, and the Virginia Stage Company, just to name a few. In 2013, he published a book on acting theory and practice entitled On Acting, a Handbook for Today's Unique American Actor. Stephen has also served as the Dean of the School of the Arts and Sciences at Southern Connecticut State, as well as the Dean of the College of the Arts and Humanities at Christopher Newport University in Virginia. Drew, before joining the Point Park family, Drew Mardarella was formerly the Executive Director of UCCS Presents at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. There, he was responsible for building support for the arts and fostering community engagement through the operation of the Entertainment Center for the Arts and its programming, including the Artist Series Theater Works, the region's premier professional theater, the Galleries of Contemporary Art, and the University Center and Event Services. Over the last year, Drew has focused on developing programming, audiences, and cross-disciplinary education opportunities for Point Park's academic community. He has worked closely with Stephen to maximize opportunities to showcase and leverage the Pittsburgh Playhouse facilities and collaborate with other arts organizations to engage audiences locally, regionally, and nationally. I could go on for hours and hours and hours, but without further ado, I will officially turn it over to the ones you've been waiting for. So I believe we're going to kick it off with a discussion of the overall vision of COPA. So take it away. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Lauren. Well, it's, you hear that all at one time, and you think, wow, I guess you feel like you've done a little something in your life, but it still doesn't seem like it's your life you're hearing. It's very interesting because as it unfolds, as many of you know, you're just living your life. When you hear it in retrospect, you think, wow, okay, here it's been a nice journey so far.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
continues here at the conservatory. I know who I'm speaking to here. Most of you attended the conservatory and you care deeply about the conservatory. So let me just start by saying that the reason I came here, primary reason I came here, was because I had been a dean for almost 12 years and it was time for me to get back into the arts. And when this opportunity came about at one of the premier conservatories in the country, at a place that was recently built and supported by the president of the university, when I was looking at this opportunity, I quite honestly, I went home and when I saw the opportunity, I looked at my wife and I said, I think I have to apply for this job. And she glanced at the job description. She said, oh yeah, you've got to apply for this job. I came here very clearly for this position at this moment in the university's history as the Playhouse reopened here in downtown Pittsburgh. So I will tell you that I come from conservatory training, deep conservatory training at Baldwin Wallace College and California Institute of the Arts, some of the best in the country. And I know very well that you care that we are taking the growth and the forward motion of the conservatory very seriously. So I hope that in the next few years, I will be able to earn all of your trust to know that the conservatory is getting better, that it's getting stronger, that it's becoming more prestigious, and that your degrees will continue to become more valuable every day.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I guess kind of to kick off this conversation a little bit, I know for most, if not all of the alumni listening, this collaboration between the conservatory and the Playhouse, this really intertwining relationship is something that's new and maybe didn't exist in the way that it does before. So can you talk a little bit about that relationship and how it's mutually beneficial?
Well, I'm going to turn this over to Drew because I want him to talk about his vision for the Playhouse, which is so exciting. And when I met Drew just a year ago, I think we became quickly very good colleagues, and we have a lot in common, and our vision has a lot in common. But Drew is really, the managing director of the Playhouse, and I'm sure has a lot to say about where the Playhouse is headed.
Sure. Thank you, Stephen. And thanks to you, Lauren, and thanks to everyone that is with us this evening. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm very honored to be here, honored to be in Point Park University and to be here in Pittsburgh. I'm brand new to Pittsburgh, been here just celebrated my 1-year anniversary here just a couple month or so ago in the middle of August. Yeah. And just like Stephen, who's been here I think just a bit longer than me. I think again is what Stephen said is all true. I think really one of the most exciting things about this position and what we've built here at Point Park is in the form of the Playhouse is this kind of opportunity for placemaking that exists with a facility that is an arts and culture facility. And by the storied history that it has had when it was in Oakland, moving it now downtown into contiguous with the campus footprint, with the rest of the campus, but also solidly downtown in this neighborhood, right? It is an arts and culture, while we're neighbors with a cultural district, we extend the reach of arts, culture, and entertainment into our part of downtown, and it can become a real kind of cultural touchstone for the area and for the region. So what we're looking to do really is to program and to be a cultural place, a place that is the foundation of which is the Pittsburgh Playhouse, which anchors this area and this part of downtown. The things that we plan to do here as it relates to programming will be a vast array of different programming. We'll have a presenting series that will occupy the different venues in the Playhouse. And we hope to engage the larger world with this new set of programming. This is all, of course, complementary to what we're doing in the Conservatory of Performing Arts. And it's complementary because what won't change and what hasn't changed is the fact that the Pittsburgh Playhouse affords a total learning environment for the students who work and take courses there. So we'll still be producing a full season of fully produced plays. Our professional production staff, which is so integral and important to the learning outcomes of our students, will still support and mentor these students as we work to produce these plays. But what the facility has allowed us to do, different from Oakland, I actually never saw the Oakland facility, and I never will, right? Because it's since been completely, dismantled. But this facility that we've built here at Point Park is a world-class, first-class facility for our students. And what we're able to offer in the Playhouse now is unlike anything I think that we were able to offer then. And so I think the future looks so very exciting, not just for the new performances that we want to have at the Playhouse, but also for the opportunities for our students.
Right. And if I could just add to that, because Drew articulated that so well, but the important thing for me as the dean and artistic director, but particularly as dean, is that we offer as many new opportunities and diverse opportunities as possible, diverse in every aspect that you can imagine, and offer more opportunities. I know that in conservatories, often it is difficult to offer equal opportunity for every student, but that's our goal, is that every student that is accepted in the conservatory should be given the opportunity to perform, and perform often, whether it's in design or whether it's in a musical theater or acting or on and on. They should be in, and I say performance in the biggest sense, right? The biggest sense of the term, that they should be being offered that opportunity to perform and to work with professionals elbow to elbow, so they have great mentors, great artists that we bring in from the outside, great faculty that we bring into the Playhouse. And when that's all working properly, and I think that most of you recognize that when it is working properly, you've probably had that experience, then you know that learning is deep and lasting, and people leave ready to move into the world, into the theater world and dance world, become stage managers and designers, assistant designers, on and on. And those opportunities are enhanced by this facility. Many of you may have not seen the facility yet, but when you have the opportunity to come to campus and walk through, especially the shops, and they're just unbelievable. There's nothing like it that I've ever seen built at a university. We had some of those folks from CMU, that other place down the road. Last year, we walked them through, and they said, "How did this happen?" They were really, really impressed with the entire facility, and that did my heart good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really exciting. So kind of to touch upon this vision, you talk a lot about these experiences and performances and, rubbing elbows to elbows. And now we're sitting in the middle of a pandemic, and we're in the, not that we have to remind anyone, but, we are well into a new school year. But over the summer and over the last couple of weeks, there have been some collaborations and virtual things that have happened that have come out of the Playhouse. I know the Homegrown series and the Dance Speaker series. I know some that are listening may have actually been participants in that series. So can you talk a little bit about those experiences and those offerings, kind of having to pivot into this, new world we're living in?
Well, I'll begin, but Drew, I'm sure, has a lot to say about
Yeah.
it. Well, but let me just begin by saying that we announced an on-ground season in April, I believe it was, with great hope and great optimism. But we knew that we may have to pivot. In fact, if you watch the season announcement, that we even said right at the beginning that this is all subject to change if we have to pivot, and indeed we did about midsummer. We knew it, and we were ready for that. But the vision of the pivot, I think, was something that grew exponentially between April and when we actually announced in August that we were going to be moving to a virtual season. And that vision became sort of the benchmark for everything we did. And that was that we wanted to offer design students and stage management students and acting students and musical theater students an experience that will continue their training, but capturing their work digitally, editing it professionally, building these units that would then be broadcast or sent out on the internet in a regimented way, so people have to tune in and watch the performance. But it's not something that is simply done in a haphazard or simple way. We decided pretty early on, with Drew's support, thank you, Drew, that we were going to do it in a robust way, and actually more complicated than I think most institutions are capable of doing, because we have the staff, the technology, the facility, and I believe the vision had a lot to say about that. So what we're going to see in the coming weeks is going to be pretty interesting stuff, because it will be a lot like theater, some like film, some like performance art, but we're going to have these stories being told in a very new sort of environment, creative environment, where each director has a chance to bring something different to the table and invent this, well, I'll call it a broadcast, but this release in a new and interesting way. And I think we have the right people around the table to bring that to life.
Yes, Lauren, that's exactly right, Stephen. And the season that we've created, the performance season that we've created, is so, I think, on the leading edge of the innovation as it relates to what's going on in this pandemic at the moment. Lauren, you spoke about the pandemic. And the arts, there's no disguising it. The arts are in crisis. But this is temporary. And also, within a crisis, I think this is an oft been repeated phrase, but it's true, there is an opportunity here. And the opportunity for Point Park and the Playhouse is that we, because of our prestige as an institution, because of our relative stability in the region, we have an opportunity to craft and to form strategic partnerships with arts organizations in the region, and to be leaders as it relates to how we're moving forward into this pandemic and how we will emerge out of it. And the partnerships that we're able to craft now, I believe, are going to have a lasting effect into the future. In a small way, you mentioned homegrown stories. That in itself is a metaphor, I think, for what will come in the future. Homegrown Stories began out of an impulse in the early part of the summer to just tell stories. We were an arts organization. We weren't doing anything. Other arts organizations in the region were doing nothing. We were essentially fallow, and we were all sort of grasping at what are we going to do. So we immediately partnered with City Theater, created a series of 5 plays. We commissioned these plays. We hired the actors along with City, and we produced an evening of these new plays, small, short, 10-minute plays that were responding to the pandemic and to the crisis around the murder of George Floyd. And it was really to respond to these moments. And once we did that, what we saw is this opportunity to not only embrace the technology that would allow us to produce our season going forward, and how could we improve on that to continue to tell stories and to give opportunities for our students. But moving into the future, what now are the opportunities with other arts organizations? And we have things, we're certainly not ready to announce these yet, but we have some really, I think, really kind of important and exciting partnerships that I hope will yield some pretty exciting results as we move into the future with organizations in the region.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It warms my heart to have so many of our alumni involved in the things over the summer and coming up right now. Our office over the last year has done a lot more card writing and snail mail, we call it. And, every time there's opportunities like this, we try to engage with our alumni community, through cards and snail mail. So I had a lot of cards to write, and that made me really happy to have so many cards to write. This time last year, I was delivering flowers or, going to the different theaters in Pittsburgh to, celebrate our alumni, and I'm not able to do that right now. So it really warms my heart to be able to send so many people cards and well wishes, and for, us as a university to give us that, give them that opportunity. So I loved it. I was really excited, and I'm excited to hear whatever is coming up next. Just so we'll all stay tuned. So let's segue a little bit into the classroom. I know a lot of people tuning in, myself included, are really curious to hear kind of what, from an academic standpoint, what learning in the classroom looks like in the conservatory for fall 2020. So Stephen, can you shed a little light on that for us?
Sure. When we decided to return on ground, we knew that we couldn't do exactly what we wanted to do on ground. So we began to work very hard about midsummer or even earlier on what an on-ground class would look like. And we opted for the HighFlex environment. Many of you know what that is, but in simplest terms, we had cameras installed in every one of the classrooms on campus, including all of the acting studios, the voice studios, and dance studios. And those cameras are capturing the class, and about 50% of the class is there participating in class, and the other 50% is at home. So it de-densifies, a word that is kind of cumbersome, but I think it carries meaning. De-densifies the classroom, allows more space for dancers and for actors and for technicians and designers to spend in the classroom, so it is there's less danger in the classroom. There's the safest possible environment. Everyone, of course, is wearing a mask when you're on campus. And then when you're watching on Zoom or on Teams or whatever the program is they're using through at home, you of course can be like we are now. We can be without masks. So we get kind of the best of both worlds. You're able to observe and you're able to participate. And when we were talking about doing this, we all were nervous about the technology, but it has turned out to be pretty good overall. Of course, there are glitches, but most of the time the faculty feel very good about being able to interact with those in class and also to interact with those that are remote learning through Zoom or Teams. I will tell you this though, when I first started thinking about how we would do this, and it wasn't certainly my idea, but I embraced it because a lot of other universities were looking at similar technologies. I said at one point to a group of individuals talking to that some of the best notes I ever got as an actor were notes that were given to another actor. In other words, I would be watching a scene happening, and the master would offer a note to one of the actors on the stage, and I thought, oh, that note is for me. So watching online an acting class or a dance class or a correction being made in a dance class, things of this nature can be very, very exciting, even if you're not participating. So we're getting both worlds happening, and I think while it's imperfect, there's a real good happening in this environment, and it's safe. And I just have to brag about our data. Our data show how safe it is. We've had precious few cases on our campus of the coronavirus, and we feel very proud about that. It's a very, very safe environment.
Yeah. That's amazing. So Drew, I know you are teaching a class this fall. So from a faculty standpoint, can you talk a little bit about your experience? So what does it look like to be, a faculty member in fall 2020?
And how I'm teaching, yeah. So my wife and I are actually team teaching a course in sports, arts, and entertainment management program.
Cool.
And it's a course, it's a course on presenting and touring. My wife, incidentally, is an arts consultant with one of the leading arts consultants groups in America called TRG. Anyway, so she's got clients across the country. But so we're team teaching this class together, and I have to say it's really great.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really is. And so it was, immediately I had been living in this kind of Zoom-like environment for a while. Our students had kind of come into it, we've not been doing it as much, if at all, but they certainly have a great facility with technology. And a couple accolades. So first of all, we're using this online, this virtual classroom program, I guess, called Schoology. It actually works out really great. And we join in our kind of Zoom-like environment for a seminar class. This is not so much a lecture-based class. It's really a mixture of seminar and lecture. And I have about a dozen students. And the way that we're kind of coming together, much like we are right now, it works really, really well for being able to have both the sharing of information and then to have conversations with each other in this group. Look, I don't know. I'm not teaching a class of 100. I'm not exactly sure. I guess what that would look like. But for our class of 12, it's really, really great, and it's working really, really well. And I have to say that we're able to deliver, I think, a really kind of very strong educational, product, if you will. The classroom experience feels really, really rich. Communication is really, really good and really intentional and all those things. And so I think it's working out, really well. Now, you might have to ask my students at the end of the class how they feel before they get their grades, of course. No, they're all doing well. Everyone's doing well.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear. It's definitely a challenging time, but it's assuring to hear that, it feels good from a faculty standpoint, and, it feels safe also. So I think that those are two concerns that we all have, safety and, of course, continuing to provide, this high level of academics. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And so we're going to segue a little bit into the Playhouse season. So we touched upon it before. You made this beautiful announcement in April about, the season. I don't want a bittersweet moment, I know, but can we pivot a little bit and talk about a little bit more specifics on what's going on at the Playhouse, overview, auditions. Were there auditions? How were they handled? So take it away.
Well, I don't mind starting with the auditions, and I'll talk about a little bit about our new play reading series, that we're launching this year, in addition to many other performances that we're launching. We decided to do everything virtually, all the auditions. The students uploaded to a particular platform their auditions. It was very, very specific. It was a general audition. And then we had callbacks that were virtual, handled by every one of the directors independently. All the directors viewed each one of the auditions and called back. And it was very efficient, actually. We took about 10 days in order to complete all this work. And I have to say that from my perspective, because I'm directing this year, I'm directing It's a Wonderful Life, and it was astonishingly good, efficient and good. And I was able to see a lot of students, a lot of actors in a very short period of time. And it was the casting went pretty well. It was a period of time where all the directors came together, and we talked about what was best for each one of the students, and we cast them, and we went into rehearsal almost immediately. And because we're rehearsing virtually, it's interesting because there's no space there's no space competition. Normally you have to have, you can rehearse in the space only, and you have to line up your shows so that the first show rehearses first, the second show rehearses. We're all rehearsing at the same time. And we're all rehearsing virtually, and we can stretch out the rehearsal process a little bit. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. So we don't want to be rehearsing 4 hours a night, 6 nights a week on Zoom. It's exhausting, it's hard. So we are pulling it out a little bit and allowing students to have a little breathing space. But of course, what that means is they have a little more time to design, a little more time to learn their lines, a little more, and the rehearsal process is actually coming together quite nicely. So I'll say one other thing, and then I'll turn it over to Drew. We are offering this year, for the first year, a new play reading series, which is it's a competitive model. Playwrights from all over the United States, but primarily this first group came from the East Coast and from Pittsburgh, and they submitted their plays, and we read them, and we adjudicated and came out with 2 plays that we are doing for the fall. And the press release is going to be offered just, I think, this week, maybe even tomorrow, to announce the plays and when they'll be read. But this is part of a much larger play development initiative at the Playhouse. We want to be known over time as being the place. Come if you want to develop a new play, we want to do our share of world premieres, And perhaps when all works out well, that we'll be moving these productions elsewhere to other theaters. And we believe that we are uniquely positioned in Pittsburgh to be able to become that theater and that developmental incubator in order to bring these plays to life. So this is the first fall that we're starting. We're just starting with 2 in the fall. We'll do 2 in the spring. And then next year, we hope to do 3 in the fall and then 3 in the spring so that we're able to broaden our scope and begin the process of really developing these new plays.
Nice, nice. We did, before we segue to Drew, we did have a question in terms of the casting process. So were there any casting opportunities or anything specific for the dance students?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry I neglected that. Yes. Well, what we did was we determined that it was going to be difficult to gather and do a traditional audition, even with masks on, because dance classes are happening fully masked, de-densified, but fully masked. So they're in class on a regular basis, almost as many hours as they would have been prior to the pandemic. But the dance program, particularly Garfield, the chair of the dance program, said that he thought it was best if we could put every one of our dancers this fall and next spring into at least one piece. So rather than holding auditions, he consulted with all the faculty. The faculty knew the dancers, and they placed them in where they thought that would be the best learning opportunity for that student. So every student that is participating on our campus this fall in the dance program is going to be doing something in the fall and dancing in the spring. And we'll be capturing this digitally, and we'll be releasing this as well. So there wasn't auditions in the classic sense, but there were placement into these roles that they'll be dancing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Drew, from your perspective.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that was a really comprehensive description about what we're doing at the Playhouse. I mean, it was perfect. And I think I might just add that, you know, what we are producing at the Playhouse, dance, theater, spoken word, is in many ways is exactly what we would be doing anyway, if it weren't for this pandemic. It's just that how we are compiling it, producing it, and then sharing it has changed. And here's where we lean into technology to help us maintain healthy social distance and healthy practices, because the work that we're in, right, is very person intensive. That's the one thing that hasn't changed about theater and dance over the last several hundred years, is that it's a very people intensive process, and that hasn't changed. So we're using technology to help bring our artists together, or, you know, masks when they are together, and to do that in a maximally safe way. But at the end of the day, we're still celebrating the greatness of dance. We're still celebrating the performances of our theater students, and still telling stories. Our production students are working, you know, in our shops, doing projects and working in a very kind of, again, socially distanced way with our professional production staff at the Playhouse, who are absolutely exceptional. And our design students are still, you know, designing and participating in the visual aspect of what these projects are going to look like. I will promise you this, that it's not, I mean, while, you know, theaters and performing arts presenting companies have been wrestling with how to share their work with their patrons and with the larger world, and in many cases they come out, the solution is to do something that looks like this, a performance in a Zoom room or something like that. We're really, I think, going to push the envelope on that. And we've engaged some professional cinematographers and videographers. And it's our intention that at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, that what we're able to share, which will still be storytelling, and it will be a theatrical enterprise, but it's going to have a filmic, that we're going to use technology and the sort of that filmic quality to help us share that work with the larger world. So I'm really excited about it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So in terms of this sharing with the rest of the world, so these student productions that, are rehearsing right now, will there be a way for alumni or anyone to like tune in or register to tune in? Can you talk about maybe, because I'm sure there are people wondering, myself included, on, how we can support this great work?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think what you'll do is that we have a way, uh, we have a what would you call it, on our website. If you go to our website, you can actually register and purchase a ticket, if you will, to each one of these events. You're all eligible to stream them once they're available for, they're already available for purchase, but they'll be streamed and displayed over a fixed amount of time. So you can register for the event. It's a very inexpensive ticket. I think it costs about $5, and some are free. For example, the speaker series. I think some of the dance speaker series are absolutely free. And yes, we have a way of doing that. So it's a very kind of customer friendly way of registering for these events, and you can watch the stream once you register.
Awesome. Well, I'll be sure.
But go to our website, Lauren. I should say that. It's our website where all this information is warehoused on our website.
Okay, I love it. So whenever I send a recap, so everyone that's listening, I'll send a recap email. You'll probably get it tomorrow, and I will be sure to include the website in there so that you can stay up to date. I know that if you're a Facebook or social media person, I know Facebook is a good way to stay connected to with the Playhouse and what's going on. So be sure to like those pages as well. So we're going to transition now to the question and answer session. So I have a couple to kick us off, but if any that are listening, if something you're wondering about, if there's something that we didn't cover, if you want more information on, please go ahead and put it in the question and answer box, and I'm paying attention to it, so I'll get to it. But I'm going to kick it off with a really great question that I think the two of you are probably anticipating, even though you unfortunately were never able to be at the old Playhouse. But the question is, do you plan to keep the history and spirit of the Craft Avenue Playhouse alive?
Well, I think there's no question that it was so highly successful for so long. The reason there is this building in this facility, the reason it exists is because the Playhouse has been so successful for so many years. So it would be foolish for us to ignore our history. And we're going to embrace our history, embrace the greatness that has been the history of the Playhouse. And the work that has been done, I think we celebrate pretty much immediately. I mean, we know that when we walked in, that we weren't walking into a place that we had to invent. It had been invented years ago, and it's become very successful. It's just that the way we need to tip now that we're downtown will take, hopefully, us into new areas and to grow. But the work that has been done here for years and years and years under Ron's leadership and the great artists that have inhabited the Playhouse over the years, I think lives with us every day. So it's important for us to recognize that we stand on those shoulders that got us to this point.
Yeah, that's right. We'll embrace our past as we move forward, into the future. That's exactly right, Stephen. And the importance that the Playhouse had in both dance and in performance and in theater will only serve. I mean, it serves as a perfect prelude to the future yet to come. So, absolutely.
Yeah, it was definitely a special place, and I didn't myself spend a lot of time there, but during my first year in my position was when the Playhouse was closing. So I was a part of, that closing year and the event, and, we did a special tour for the COPA alumni on campus to show them the new Playhouse. And so just being able to be a part of that, unfortunately it was at the end, but being able to be a part of it during those moments was really, really special for me. I remember as a student, I had to attend, for one of my classes, I had to attend a production at the Playhouse. And I remember my dad taking me there. And my dad, grew up, I think the first time I ever saw Rocky Horror was in the Playhouse or something like that. And I remember him telling me stories about that, but unfortunately, I didn't appreciate it whenever I was a student there, but I was glad I was able to be a part at the end. So, thank you for doing what you are doing to honor that legacy. So, the next question is, what are the ways you see those in performing arts being successful in a world with a pandemic? So, kind of maybe an overall kind of what you think kind of question.
Well, I have a couple of answers to that. I don't know if Drew would you like to start, Drew, on this? Because I have a couple of thoughts on this because I think about this deeply. But do you want to start us off, Drew?
Sure. I mean, I'll say that we will emerge from this pandemic, and when we do, I think there's going to be a tremendous appetite for performance of all type. And I think that the arts sector, which has been so without for so long, is going to return to gathering in theaters. It's going to be a bit like a tsunami. So I do think this will all pass, and I think the demand for and the prospects for our future performers will ultimately be bright. It looks grim now. It feels grim, but it's not going to always be this case. So this too shall pass. So I'm very much an optimist, and I think that we can only kind of move forward. And I'll say one other thing, and that is that was an answer about performers, and I guess sort of what job prospects look like for performers. I think the importance of the arts and artists to see us through this moment and into the future is utterly crucial. And I think that that's the real one of the more important roles that we serve as an educational institution, is that we're creating future artists, and these future artists are going to be the folks that will help us see through the challenges into the future. So we are contributing to really, by educating our current artists now, we're really investing into what's to come and into the future.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was wow. That was a great answer.
Are you regretting having him go first?
That was a great answer. I'm going to give this much more on this because it's an interesting question for me. We all know that artistic training at a conservatory is to bounce people out into the marketplace and to work in their chosen field. Sometimes that works out. Often it works out, especially from really good conservatories, and sometimes it doesn't. But the important thing is that you've had that kind of intense training at a conservatory, because whether or not you wind up staying in your art form or moving into other areas, and lots of people do after they graduate and have a degree from an accredited institution, but the training in the arts, the training that teaches you how to meet deadlines, how to practice something, how to how to improve, to communicate, how to think, and how to critically analyze a script, or just the discipline of being at a conservatory and being successful in a conservatory. These skills are transferable, and these skills often are transferable later in life, but sometimes even earlier in life. I'm sort of living proof of that, right? I mean, I went to CalArts to finish my training as an actor. I was an actor and a director in Chicago. I did lots of really interesting stuff, and I'm really pleased with the career that I had directly in the arts. And then I moved into education, and now I'm a dean. And so if you'd have told me when I was 25 years old and getting out of graduate school that I was going to be a dean of a conservatory, I didn't even know what that meant. But the training that I had, and the way that it taught me how to think, and the way that it taught me how to practice, and the way that it taught me how to understand that that listening and communication was equally important as speaking, that it gave me an opportunity to move in new directions. So I just want to say that artistic training serves the whole person, not just the portion that wants to be the artist. And that whole person may have many different careers in their lives. And so while right now it's dark, it's dim, some of the artists that get out won't move directly into the arts and they move other areas. And you know something, I find that to be very gratifying as well. And I'm very proud of those students as well.
Yeah, you know, when you say that, I really have to. This is not at all about me or my story, but that really struck me because I was a competitive dancer for about 18 years, and I never wanted to be a dancer. I never pursued it after college, but my mom, when I was 2 years old, I'm an only child, she put me in dance because she wanted me to be social. She didn't want me to be afraid. And she wanted me to have confidence when I had to stand up in front of people or whatever. And even though I never pursued it, not because I didn't love it, I loved it. That's not what I wanted to do. Those skills that you're talking about, I can, I think back to the jobs that I had, and those are the skills, those artistic skills that I learned, and that discipline while I was dancing. So, that is so true. I had to share it because I was like bursting at the seams because it is such a true statement. And, I am not at all in the shoes of someone who was performing and is not now, but I can absolutely agree with that. Those skills are transferable.
No, I have to say, when you ask employers, all kinds of employers, what the things that they look for in a successful employee, almost always in the top 2 or 3 is creativity.
Yeah.
Be able to problem solve and to think creatively. And the conservatory teaches that. It teaches it every day in every way. And so I hope that students, when they leave and they move into the industry and then they happen to shift. In fact, I still get calls from students, some of my former students, they call me up and they say, "Hi, Stephen, I want to tell you I've been working as an actor in Chicago since the last 11 years, and I have an opportunity to move into another sector. This company saw me and has recruited me, and they're going to pay me a lot of money to do something." And I can tell what they're asking me for is permission to say, "Sure, go do it. You've been successful as an artist. Go out there and do something else." I said, the industry's not going away. If you want to come back, it will still embrace you. But there is a sense that sometimes after a period of time that you want to do something else and you're well prepared to do something else. And I think it's really important to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So well said. So this next question is maybe more so for Drew, but both of you can speak if you would like. Will there be open auditions or opportunities for local artists in the area? I'm assuming that is meaning at the Playhouse or with different opportunities within the conservatory.
I don't know that is for me. Stephen probably knows this better than I do. I think from my perspective, there will certainly be opportunities as we look for regional and regional performing groups or musicians as we begin to think about what programs look like as when we kind of emerge from all of this. I'm hoping for the late spring or the summer. So certainly we'll be looking at regional artists to do that. We are, of course, as I said before, always trying to strike up strategic partnerships with different arts organizations. But as it relates to community opportunities, I think the question was maybe about auditioning for plays. Is that right? I don't know about that, Stephen. Do you?
Well, I think the model that works best at a conservatory, and I spoke about it a little bit earlier, but I'll just remind you that there is the artists working with artists. If we want to offer as many opportunities to our students as possible, but performers, and this happens a lot at institutions, that performers, when they get to be a senior, they think they're pretty good, and they are. But what you want to always do is to bring in professionals occasionally to augment casts so that students go, "Oh, there's another step I have to take." there's and that teaching environment, that is the artists coming in and doing their craft, side by side with the other individuals in the cast, whether it's design or acting, helps teach the students, oh, you should feel good about where you are, but look where you need to go. So there will be professionals that we'll bring in for age-specific roles, age-appropriate roles. If we were going to do King Lear next year, we probably wouldn't have a student play Lear. We'd probably bring in, right, that's an extreme example, but I think it proves the point that occasionally you want to bring in these great actors, and some of those great actors would be local actors. So there will be, at times, auditions, absolutely. And how we go about that once we get through the pandemic will be determined by the season in a given year. There may be times that we need to bring in a handful of actors to augment and support the season, and we will.
Yeah, amazing. I think that answered the question perfectly. So I have two final questions. So and this is the final call, so if there's any last minute thoughts that you want to share with us, please do in the Q&A box. But two final questions. So the first one, this is kind of looking on the horizon. So I think that this is maybe a little bit difficult given everything that has changed within the last year, but now that you've been at Point Park for a year, and it's been a really exciting year, looking onto the horizon, into the future, what are your plans or hopes or dreams, I guess, for the next few years?
Yeah, I can start. I can start and kind of go back to, I think, where I began. I hope that the Pittsburgh Playhouse is at the center of cultural life for Pittsburgh and the region, and certainly for its part of downtown. And what that means is that we will continue to offer a robust season of student-generated work both for theater and for dance, and that it's a center of learning and a hive of activity around that. But in addition to that, we will also be presenting a host of national and international artists around music, dance, spoken word, and that the ultimate goal, I'd love to see the Pittsburgh Playhouse humming with a creative activity 365 days of the year. And I think that would be, that's the big audacious goal for the Pittsburgh Playhouse. My big audacious goal, ours.
So I
yes.
think that's it.
Our audacious goal.
I think you can still actually watch our season and our live season announcement that was April of last year online. You can go onto YouTube and look at that. And the reason I would encourage you, if you haven't seen it, I think it gives you an idea of what Drew just talked about. That we were planning to be busy all year long, and that is really what my goal is too, not just on the training side with students, but that we have the busy and a buzzing playhouse and lots of people coming to the playhouse on a regular basis, and 2 or 3 shows running at the same time, so that it becomes a true arts and entertainment center that is the center of the great art that is in Pittsburgh. And I think that if we continue the path that we attempted before the pandemic reared its head, I think we are moving that direction quite smartly, and we're proud of that.
Yeah. I will include the link to that season announcement in my recap email, just for everyone to take a moment. If you're having a bad day, if Stephanie's still listening, I have watched that. If there's 300 views on that, there's probably more, but if there's 300 views, I'm 295, because I'm having a bad day. That really makes me feel good and motivates me. It was so well done, but I think it was also at a time where we were unsure of what the future looked like, and granted, things didn't unfold the way that we thought that they would, but it really made me feel so good, and continues to make me feel good whenever I watch it. So, I'm going to include it in the email. Please, when you get the email from me, just watch it, because if you haven't already, and if you have, watch it again, because it's going to make you feel so good, and it'll be a great way to start your weekend.
And a lot of the plays and musicals and the things that we announce in there will be folded into future seasons, and we're not going to discard them because we couldn't do them this year, for sure.
Yeah. I love it. So actually, at the beginning of the year, I challenged myself that every week I was going to learn a new musical or like piece. So every week I would like focus on one. And after that season announcement came out, I added all of those to my repertoire, the ones that I wasn't familiar with. So when I would talk to Stephanie or come into the office, I was listening and playing like new musicals or plays or whatever. And I would go to her and I would say, hey, I'm learning this one this week. And on the bus, I would listen to it. So, I'm really trying to brush up on my theater, but I did after that season announcement. So one final question and then we'll end it, but this is kind of more on the fun side of things. So now that you both have officially been at Point Park and in Pittsburgh for a year, I gotta ask, I'm not a Yinzer, I'm not a Yins type of person, but I do love Pittsburgh. So what is your favorite part about Pittsburgh? That can be anything. That can be anything. That could be like the 7-Eleven across from the Playhouse. That can be Permani's sandwich. What is your thing about Pittsburgh that you can't get enough of? And you both got to answer.
Well,
You both got to answer.
I lived for the first almost 6 months on campus. I was
Oh.
here in an apartment, so I was right downtown in the heart of campus for almost 6 months. And I walked everywhere. And, we call it the city of bridges. It's called the city of bridges. And I soon became very well acquainted with those bridges because I could walk everywhere. And that was a great way to be acquainted with the city. And I became very fond of taking a bridge and going out and finding a place to eat and just saying, I'm going to eat here today. And the city affords that. You don't have to get on the train, but you don't have to get on the train. You can walk and say, I'm going to try that burger joint, or I'm going to try that place. And I did it all for about 6 months. So I had my love is the wealth of restaurants and the ability to get to them quickly and easily when you're downtown. I think that's really striking.
Love it.
So, okay. So thank you for going first, Stephen, because I needed to form my thoughts. All right. So I've been oh my goodness, 30 plus years I've been living in the West. So for me, it's just extraordinary fall that we have here in Pittsburgh, and the walks in the forest. I have 2 small children. I have a 6-year-old and 4-year-old boys, and just being able to hike in the forest it's just so cool. But let me tell you what I also really love about Pittsburgh. And Lauren, you sort of alluded to this because of your Pittsburgh pride. And that is very clear to me shortly after coming here, is how the people, right? And how proud and how proud everyone is of being from this area and how deep these roots are. Again, I've just spent a lot of time in the West, which still has this kind of newness to it. People seem to flow in and out. And it still feels like it's a bit like, the pioneer West, meaning you come into a city and newness there's still a lot of new people, there's churn. In Pittsburgh here, well, I'm sure we have some of that. Inevitably, Lauren, we meet folks like you who've been here for a while, who have deep roots, a deep history here. And that for me is so profound and meaningful that it makes the work that I want to, do here with Stephen so much more, I don't know. I just take it to heart so much more seriously because it's just got a profound kind of impact on me. So yeah, the fall and the people. And I'm a Steelers fan too. I'm a Steelers and Pirates fan. If that scores any points with a long-suffering Pirates fan, but if that scores any points,
hey, the games are fun, so it's all good. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight, and thank you to everyone who tuned in, for popping in with us. This was amazing. I'm so excited that you were able to be here and share all of this news from the Conservatory and from the Playhouse. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Lauren. Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.